Joe Theismann, I hope you're having an awesome day, sir. Welcome into the game here in T-Town.
I am, Ryan. Thank you so much. And by the way, before we get started, I just want to send my blessings out to everybody out there. Please stay safe. Please be conscious of what we need to do to stay safe. I know more and more states are going to open up. It still doesn't mean we can get real close to one another. So let's buy another day. Every day we can buy by staying healthy and safe gives us another day to get closer to a vaccine or a cure or a treatment for the coronavirus. So let's stay smart and get this country rolling again.
Joe,
roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide.
Roll Mason.
Well, and
roll USA.
Yes, absolutely. Now, down here we say roll Skins, or at least some people do. For all those Bama guys,
Tommy's a very astute guy. He's a very astute man.
He is.
I just want you to know that.
He is. But I'm a Cowboy guy, so I know.
Well, that's your problem, not ours.
Well, very true. Very true. Very true. Very true. Very true. And it has been a problem for a few years. So we'll get back there though. Maybe.
We've had a little bit more of a problem than you have the last couple of years. Okay.
Hey, but let me ask you. You're a motivation guy. You go into businesses and you have a chance to give them a positive message. What do you look at the coronavirus? What can we draw from this as someone we look to for you? I know you're a guy that has written a book, and we're going to talk about that as well. But what can you encourage people? What can you say to kind of give people the fight to fight through this?
I think because we are who we are as a nation, and I think we've had great leadership in this area. I mean, this is unprecedented. There's no book, there's no guideline to say that, well, this is what was done before. Let's see if we can improve this. Every day is a new experience. And I think what we have to do as people is we have to understand what our contribution and our role is. It's like being on a ball club. I mean, I in the book, I analogize the world of sports, the world of business, and our lives. Right now, we're talking about our lives. Right now, each of us gets to play a role as a part of this team called the United States. And each of us have to be able to perform our role to the best of our ability. That's, give yourself space. Wear a mask if you're out in public. Wear gloves. I was in Target the other day, Ryan, and I saw a mother and two kids, and they don't have a mask on. It's like, you're not bulletproof, okay? I don't want to be a statistic. I'm not interested in being one of those statistics that pops up and says this person's not with us anymore. I mean, so what's so hard about following? What's so hard about doing your role and doing your part? And that's a big thing. I mean, football's made up of role players. Some guys play 5 plays, but they're important. Some guys play 65 plays or 80 plays. Do your role, do your part to make sure we can protect and save. And every day we buy another day, it gets closer to a chance to be able to open up the country again. There is no normal anymore. We're in a new normal. I mean, you've got, this is a chance to reflect with your family. It's a chance to get to know people. One of my buddies sent me one of those little jokes that everybody sends out. He says, I sat next to this woman on the couch and she introduced herself as my wife. I was shocked. I mean, that's basically where we've gotten to in society, and now I think it's brought us back closer. But I think we have to also, the other thing is I'll talk to people about fundamentals. Get yourself a plan. Get yourself a routine. You just don't get up and lay around. Do something. Be active, and create a plan for yourself. Create situations for yourself. These are things people haven't had to do, so now it's an opportunity to be able to introduce different things in your life.
You have written a book that will be out later, and you can order it on Amazon.com. It releases later this year in the month of June. How to Be a Champion Every Day: 6 Timeless Keys to Success. What was the goal of the book, Joe?
It's just really it's something I've been working on for a number of years. It parallels a lot of the speeches, the things I talk about. It talks about setting goals, taking the right kind of attitude, caring about one another, which is basically customer service, working as a part of a team, try not to procrastinate and put things off that should be taken care of. You can do things today. It's funny. One of the things I talk about in there is I was at my ranch, and I was mowing the lawn, and I looked over at the fence, and one of the fence posts was leaning. So I mowed about half the lawn, got off the tractor, started working on the fence post, looked down the fence line. I saw there were some bushes over the fence. Stopped digging the fence pole hole, went down and worked on the bush, and all of a sudden the day was over. I basically started 3 different projects, none of which were completed. So before I could do anything the next day, I had to finish the 3 incomplete projects, and it just set me behind. And basically what it is, take the time to finish something. I mean, people do this all the time. They start it and they move around. They start something and finish it. Start and finish it. I think it's just a great way to do things in our lives. But I wanted to draw an analogy between the world of sports, the world of business, and our own lives. And I learned this from many years ago when I was doing a presentation. I was visiting with people from human resources, vice presidents, marketing, sales, all different aspects of a company. And people kept talking about the things that I talk about in the book. They said, as a company, we need goals and we need people with the right kind of attitude. And, and the relationships inside the business are important, and also with our customers. And, we are a team, and whether you're a division of a part of a group, or you're just, like an offense, defense, special teams. Everyone has a very significant importance to the outcome of what the results are going to be. And then, what motivates you? What flips the switch for you? What gets you going? And people were talking about that, and I said, wow, that's the same thing we talked about in football. And then if you take it over and think about our lives, it's the same thing. And so I wanted to write a book that would cover those 3 aspects and sort of give people a little bit of insight into what I was thinking. It's not a book that says you should do this, you should do that, and this is what's going to happen. I sort of fashioned myself as Joey Appleseed. These are seeds to be planted, nurtured. If you like them, nurture them. If you don't, move on to another one or come up with one of your own.
We're talking to Joe Theismann. The book is How to Be a Champion Every Day, 6 Timeless Keys to Success. I'm curious, from your perspective, who is someone who has studied leadership, what makes Nick Saban so successful from your perspective?
I think one of the things is discipline. Discipline and direction. It's the same thing I see in Bill Belichick, same thing I saw in Joe Gibbs. And I can go on and on and on of successful coaches. Nick knows what he wants. He knows a specific way he wants it done. And he also, I think one of the great aspects of leadership is being able to select the people you want to deliver your message. I think, to me, that's, and to be able to know what you don't know. I don't think Nick presumes to know, a whole lot about the way you want to call an offense. He knows what he's looking for in a coach. He knows he understands what he wants to get out of the offense, but the intricacies of it, he leaves to someone else to do their job. And he does, he is the CEO of the Alabama football team, and he's found a staff that's been with him for a long time. In some instances, some come, some go, but he has a nucleus of people around him that he trusts. They trust him, and I believe he's honest with the players. I think when he recruits kids to go to Notre Dame, when he recruits kids to go to Alabama, it's like, I'm going to give you a chance. I'm not promising you anything. And I think guys appreciate that. It's the same thing at the University of Notre Dame. Come to these universities. We'll give you a chance. I see parents today. I read stories about the only way that their son and or daughter will go to a school is if they don't recruit somebody at that position other than them. And I guess if you think you're that good and you hold that kind of hammer, you probably can get away with it. But there are places you can't. And to me, Nick is. There's nobody like him. He's and his record has proven it. And you look at the men. You look at what we get. We get tremendous young men out of the University of Alabama. And I've seen a lot of them with the Redskins, a ton of them. We get great young men first. Then we get terrific athletes with a great work ethic. And that's all is driven by the coach. That's what Nick's all about.
Joe, I'd love for you to take. We're talking to Joe Theismann, is former NFL quarterback. We've talked about his book. We've talked about Nick Saban. Let's move to another expert of analysis from you. When you look at Tua Tagovailoa, what do you see as a quarterback? You can talk about the positives, the negatives. What do you see in a quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa?
Well, it's interesting. Having watched more and more of him, I watched him against Clemson. I didn't think he played very well in that game. I thought, this was a couple of years ago, I wasn't impressed with his arm. But the more I've seen it, the little bit of the personal workout he went through, his his modified pro day, I was more and more impressed with the way he dropped. I was more impressed with the way he got the ball out of his hands. I think that he, as a young man who's going to come in and try and prove things to people, I don't think you can list 9 things on Tua, and every one of them is terrific. But there's that question mark about his health. Now, I hope and pray that wherever he winds up, that he's able to stay healthy and compete for the job, because I think he has a very bright future. I think he's smart. He's athletic. Like I said, I questioned his arm strength, but what I've seen in some of the stuff lately, that's not as big an issue. But you just can't be hurt. I mean, you cannot consistently learn in this business and not be available. We saw it with Robert Griffin III. Robert was rookie of the year, his rookie year. Got hurt the second year, got hurt the third year. All of a sudden, teams aren't going to wait. They have to move on. They can't wait for you to just constantly be rehabbing. Plus, you lose that practice time, right? Yeah. The only way you get better is by showing up at work. You're in the radio business. If you were to take a month off and then come back, you're going, oh, it's not like it was. No, it's not. There's not that comfort level. It's the same thing in every business and every sport. And so, that to me, the biggest question about him is his health. Will he be healthy enough to be able to play? Personally, I believe he will. I think this time off and away from football a little bit is probably good for him, because the injury that he had, and most injuries like that, are probably, even though the doctors say he's ready to go, it's probably another 4 or 5 months, 6 months out, and he can use the healing process. So I like him. You listen to the interviews, you can't help but like him. He's smart. He has wonderful anticipation, and that's going to come with learning a system. A lot of the guys coming out of college don't have that. I think Joe Burrow has it. I don't think Justin Herbert has it. I don't think Jordan Love has it. And the fascinating one to me, and he was yours down there in Alabama, is Jalen Hurts. He's going to be interesting to watch. I think so. Both the quote unquote Alabama/Oklahoma kids are going to be fun to look at in this draft and figure out where they're going to go and how their skills are going to be used. Tua will be a pure quarterback. Jalen, maybe they have roles for him other than just playing the quarterback position. A little bit like Tyson Hill down in New Orleans.
What do you see the strengths and weaknesses of Jalen?
He had trouble protecting the ball. That scared me a little bit. Even at Oklahoma, a little bit. I didn't think he was a very good thrower of the football through most of Alabama. He became a much better thrower of the football at Oklahoma. So, what I like to look for is progress. Are you the same guy that I've seen sort of year after year, week after week, or do you see progress? Do you see growth in a particular area? And I think in Jalen's case, I saw a whole lot of growth of him being able to throw the football a lot better. And so that was encouraging to me. And he has excellent running skills. I don't think anybody's on the par of say, Lamar Jackson when it comes to purely running the football. Kyler Murray is a guy that can escape people. Patrick Mahomes, had a chance to sit for a year. Daniel Jones got thrown into the fire. Dwayne Haskins in Washington, same thing, had to play right away. I think Jalen can go somewhere, learn professional football. I think Tua is going to be asked probably to step up a little quicker than the other guys. I mean, if you look at this draft, Cincinnati needs a quarterback. Detroit may or may not at some point in time. Miami does. The Chargers do. Jacksonville does. How patient is John Gruden going to be out there with Derek? Obviously, Tom Brady's, you're going to eventually move on from there, and you're eventually going to move on in Indy with Phillip. So, you've got a lot of places for guys to go and actually wind up playing a lot of football. So, I think I like what I've seen. I like Jalen's growth. Let's put it that way. I love to see the way he's grown to be a better thrower of the football.
Final question. You've played the game. You've played at a major university like Notre Dame, and we ask you about the name, image, and likeness conversation that we're having around college football. Where do you stand with the name, image, and likeness? Should players, student athletes be able to go out and make money outside of their profession, people endorsement, things of that nature for college athletes?
I think you open a can of worms that you'll never be able to close. This is Pandora's box, and you're never going to be able to close it. First of all, where does the money come from to pay the athlete? Does that open up the possibility of other athletes, say alumni? An alumni hires somebody. Well, is that going to be the only person that gets the money? How do you treat Division I? How do you treat Division II? How do you treat women's sports and men's sports? Where do you draw the line? I've said this before. If you're a collegiate athlete, and this would be my recommendation, is what you do, you can maintain your status as an amateur. What the university does is they set up a trust for you in your name. And if Tua's jerseys sold $100,000 worth of jerseys, which would be his royalty, let's say, that money would go into a trust until such time that athlete, man or woman, would wind up leaving college sports, whether they left the game early, whether they got hurt, whatever it might be, their eligibility is over. They would have access to that money. That way the university would be benefiting, the young person would be benefiting, and you could still maintain some degree of integrity when it came to collegiate sports instead of just turning everybody loose. Plus, you're going to turn agents loose on campus. I don't believe that this requires, let me put it this way, a lot more thought than people have just given to it and saying, take your name and likeness and go out and market it. Protect the integrity a little bit of college sports. Create a trust fund. Create a fund that they can have it. When they're done, they can have it. And they're going to get compensated for what they're doing while they're there to help promote the university and sales of items. To me, I guess the problem with it, Ryan, it seems to make sense. And heaven forbid we do something that makes sense.
I was just thinking the same thing.
My goodness.
Well, we've got a coach here in Tuscaloosa, Coach Stallings, Coach Gene Stallings, and he says, if the NCAA is for it, I'm generally against it. So I don't know.
Yeah, Gene's such a great Gene. One of my first two. Have you got a second? Can I tell a story about Gene?
Please do.
So Gene's coaching the Cardinals, and this is my first opportunity to be in broadcast, and it was a Redskin Cardinal game. So I sit down with Gene, and he's very reluctant to talk to me because I'm a former Redskin, and they're playing the Redskins. So I sit down with him, and with that deep voice of his, well, Joe, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. He said, I'm going to share some stuff with you, but if I find out that you tell anybody, I'll never talk to you again. I said, Coach, that's perfectly fine with me. Integrity is all we have, and trust is all I can ask of you. So this is like early in the season. We get towards the end of the year, and we're doing another Cardinal game. It wasn't a Redskin game at this time, but I'm doing another Cardinal game. And Gene walks in and he says, Joe, I don't have a lot of time, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to explain something to you. We're going to take that halfback. We're going to move him to fullback position. We're going to take that fullback, move him to halfback position. Now, for the people out there, it's going to look the same, but I'll expect you to explain to them what the difference is. So he went from being very guarded to someone who was willing to share the most intricate part of the game. And to me, that to me is just special. And he was the one that really, sort of laid it out and said, hey, look, this is the way it's going to be. And I've always appreciated that. What an incredible man.